Boom, we are back. That's right. The world's most bullish podcast, bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit. But this time you'll see slightly lighter on the ground. Mr. All-In, aka the Trillion Dollar Man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution, and we have no Mrs. No Show. Surprise, surprise. Still 136 pods in and a very low percentage return. And we do not have the people's champ himself. You know him. You love him. Say it. The everyday man knows him. He loves him, but he's not here. I'm not even going to say his name. He doesn't exist.
Apparently on holiday or something,
Yeah. Again,
as if that's some kind of excuse.
he's spending frivolously
In a bull market, yeah, what
in
the
a
fuck
bull
you do?
market. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't spend in a bull market or in a bear market. A holiday, fucking go and put a tent in your backyard. Well,
Yeah,
we're camping, kids.
but Dr. Evil 10%, we do think of you and we will mention you numerous times, probably when we're talking about anything racist or homophobic and any other slurs that we can, slam against your name. So I know he'll be watching and he'll enjoy that.
Oh yeah, of course you will. Right, should we kick off then?
Yeah,
It's a
let's
weird
do
little
it.
agenda this week, I think, because it's one of them where there's well, the lead stories are two people that I could not care less about, but hopefully we're getting to the end of their stories, right? We
Correct.
won't be talking about them much longer, and Bitcoin will be free of these people. And bizarrely, this person literally came up in a conversation. So we're talking about SBF and the fact he's just been sentenced to 25 years in prison. And the actual tweet that we've linked to is from Bitcoin Magazine, and it actually contrasts his sentence to Ross Ulbricht, who ran Silk Road and got two life sentences plus 40 years. He
Hmm.
added the plus 40 is just to add insult to injury, really, just to absolutely make sure this guy never gets out of prison. And I'm not sure how long Ross has been in now, but I think it's coming up to 12 years. And
Yeah.
so you've got him who basically ran Silk Road, and then you've got, SBF, so Sang Bankman Ford, got 25 years, right? And bizarrely, yeah, I was going to say, I had a family member come round, who I've been helping stats for a good couple of years. They didn't bring it up. I actually brought it up and went, Bitcoin's doing okay, right? Been checking your balance. First question, should I take any profit? Is it going to keep going up?
No.
I'm just like, if I taught you nothing, if I taught you nothing, right? Why are we buying Bitcoin again? We're buying Bitcoin to escape the fiat system. We're not doing short-term trades. So she's like, yeah, but it's at all-time highs now. Apparently, it might go down. So if I sell it now, I could buy back and buy more Bitcoin. I went, look, if you want to do that, you can do it, but I never trade Bitcoin. I don't know what it's going to do in the short term. I just know long term it's going up. So that's what I'm doing. And in it, she went, well, you never know. There could be another FTX or an SBF come out, and that could really cause the price to dump. I'm just like, right, you know nothing about Bitcoin, right? This other than what I've told you, and the little bit of research you do yourself, you come back to me with this because I haven't told this person about FTX or fucking SBF. At no point is this would I ever mention this dickhead and this scam company in the same breath of Bitcoin. But this is what she comes to me with. And I'm
Mm.
just sat there going, how is this guy still relevant? And I guess it's because he's just been sentenced, and I guess this news hit the mainstream.
Yeah.
So I've got people that I've brought in an orange pill and the stacking sats, and they're going, oh, it's scaring them again in a way. It's like it's reminding, like the PTSD is coming back of, oh, could there be another FTX? Could that bring down Bitcoin? Because they don't really get it. They don't get the fact that this is one scam company that just took a load of people's money, defrauded them, and now that the CEO is getting put in prison for a long time. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Nothing. Literally, other than the fact that they happened to trade in some Bitcoin and some Bitcoin was lost during this, it it has literally zero impact on Bitcoin, but it does have an impact on Bitcoin when it comes to the brand, because Jesus Christ, this seems to be the thing that was the one thing she knew in the last year about Bitcoin. This is
Yeah.
the one bit of news she wanted to bring me. I'm like, yeah, I've heard it and it is irrelevant. Like, please forget that. Like the one bit of research you've done, please
Yes.
forget it because it wasn't useful.
So I guess because we're seeing a person being prosecuted for this, but you and I, we're lovers of the film The Big Short. No one was prosecuted from that. What people should be thinking about is, the amount of money that's been printed since March 2020, and that should be in the forefront of their minds. Cyprus getting a haircut in 2013, that should be in the forefront of their minds. Nigeria going to a digital CBDC. That should, these are the scary things that are happening that they should be bringing to us and saying, oh my God, what about this? You know, it's unfortunate that it is FTX and this Sam Bankman-Fried scam that people remember because that's what they want to do and put fear in everybody's minds. But ultimately, yeah, we're gonna have to. We'll get past it. We'll shake it off. But those are the things that worry me. I genuinely sit here with Bitcoin allegedly, and and think, gosh, this is going to happen. This is happening as we speak, which leads me on quite nicely to this and the artwork, which I was very happily touched by Mr. Allin and Dr. Evil 10% as a birthday gift. And ultimately, it's the currencies of the world which make up the B. And this is again happening in plain sight. This paper money and the coins all means nothing. That's what people should be talking to us about. This is what is going on right now. We're trading fiat money, to use your phrase, that is toilet paper right now, and
It's
we're believing in it.
yeah, it's just pretty paper, and all it's really good for is putting on some artwork and making a nice Bitcoin symbol out of. Looks really pretty, but I wouldn't denominate
Yeah.
my wealth in it. But going back to SBF for a minute. So you got 25 years, right? So I know back in the day, was about a year ago, we were all going, SBF is in with the government. His parents are
Mm.
tied to the SEC, to the upper echelons of government. I know there was a risk that he just got a slap on the wrist and just got let off, right? Like some kind of settlement happened, or basically, I think anything less than 10 years really was going to be seen
Yeah.
as extremely lenient because when we looked at how you charge people based on these types of frauds, it's the amount of money that matters, which is an interesting metric, I think.
Mm.
I don't actually agree with that necessarily because some can be really disgusting and steal 10 grand from an old dementia retiree, which is despicable. But oh, it's only 10 grand. It's like, yeah, well, that's all the money they had. So I think you should get the book thrown at you for that. Whereas someone could steal, 100 million from some rich multi-billionaire in some kind of investment scam, and you go, well, yeah, it's he stole a lot of money, but he only affected one life, and the one life he affected was barely at all. So
Hmm.
let's make sure the money goes back. But I don't know. It's like I'd rather have it almost based on how many lives you negatively affected as opposed to the amount of money. It's
Yeah.
again, I think it seems a little bit fear. It's almost like once it gets above a certain level, that's when there's a bigger chance that the people at the top of the fiat pyramid were affected. So
Yeah.
therefore, you get 100 years. But if you're stealing 10, 50, 100K, the people at the top know that even if it's them that's affected, they don't give a shit. So whatever, like do your 5 or 10 years and off you pop, right?
Yeah.
But if you're stealing billions like this guy is, it's like, hold on, that might be me. You might actually be stealing from me or my kids. So we want to make sure the 100-year sentence is available. So when we looked at it for the fraud, he ticked every single freaking box. And
Everything.
I think it topped out like the top tier of stock of fraud tops out at about 100 million. And he was in the billions. So we're going, right, it's 10 years for that, 20 years for this, 20 years for that. And there's like about 14 different things you could measure yourself on. And you go, he pretty much meets about 8 of the 14. So this guy is anything like a harsh sentence would be 100 years. That's like you've got him on every single thing.
Yeah.
But he got 25. What's your gut feel on 25? Because I guess that what is it? The guy's about is in his 30s. He's
Yeah,
going to come
that's
out
right.
basically a bit. It's stealing his entire, um, almost like your father bearing years are going to be gone because when you come out 55, 60,
Yeah.
that's yeah, you're at a different stage of life there, aren't you?
Yeah. So
He's
because
32.
I look,
He's
yeah,
32.
32, so
He'll be
57.
57 near the existing retirement age, but that retirement age will probably be 72 by the time he gets out. But yeah,
Yeah.
57. What do you think? Is 25 fair? Too
I,
little,
I
too much?
was I was thinking about this, and because I'd actually not so long listened to a podcast about El Chapo and the twins who kind of put El Chapo into prison. The way that it worked with them is that they had to do 85% of their sentence. That's effectively what it is in American law. So they might already include the time that he's been in there, which is just a year. So that knocks him down to 56. And then the 85% is what the two and a half off. So you could say 22 years, and then would say 22 years roughly.
Yeah,
So
it's a good point actually because basically there's people have been going, oh, he won't serve 25. You can get
mm,
out halfway on good on parole, but
yeah,
he hasn't been criminally charged. It's a federal charge.
yes,
So a federal charge doesn't have parole, and you have to serve, I think it is at least 85% of the set of your sentence minimum.
yeah, yes,
So yeah, so 25 years doesn't mean 12 and a half like it would if this was like because he's the classic first time offender and all that stuff.
correct,
If this
correct.
was
Cooperative
manslaughter
and
or murder charge, something like that, the 25
yeah,
years, he could genuinely be out just after 10. But they're saying he's
yeah,
going to serve at least 20.
yeah.
So he's going to be in his 50s at some point, like according, provided no funny business happens, he's been federally charged, sentenced to 25 years. He will serve at least 20 of those in prison.
Now, does he, again, there may be later on down the line some sort of loophole
Hmm.
and he gets out, but he is, I think it's, obviously, I don't think it's fair because what would have been fair is the life sentence because the charges were, extortionate in terms of the things that you could have slapped on him and the number that you could have slapped on him. Could he do anything to redeem himself? Perhaps in terms of somehow getting the people's money back, but I just don't see that happening. I don't see a world in which it ever happens.
Bizarrely,
So,
apparently all the money is back. That was partly why they were asking for a 50-year sentence. and the judge gave 25, it's because nearly all the customer funds are back. And it's not because of
Wow.
anything SBF did. It's just that they lost so much money. And by the time that they did declare bankruptcy, they still had a load of shit coins, a load of Bitcoin left, and it's just been held. So the value of
Interesting.
Bitcoin at that point, which was, I don't know, was it 18 months ago or so,
Yeah.
was stamped, right? So at the time, the amount of assets they had was like 10% of what they should have had, if not slightly less. But then a load of these shit coins, he made a massive investment in some AI company. He threw a couple of million in it, and apparently it's gone up to the company's worth like 8 billion or something. So his investment is worth nearly a billion off a couple of million. Because that's what he was doing, right? He
Right.
was not just buying shit coins and stuff. He was just
Correct.
he was doing VC investing everywhere. And one of
Yes.
his investments has made a billion in this AI company. I don't even know which one it is. But essentially the creditors, all they have done is sat on what Sam had. And at the time, it was less than 10% of what he needed. So everyone was largely going to get 10p in the pound or the dollar um, for everything invested. You're going to lose 90% and you're going to get your 10% back. And it could be in 10 years' time, right? By the time they've all
Yeah.
ratified everything. But even at today's prices, already the insolvency and bankruptcy and the liquidators that are running the thing now have gone, the investments that Sam made have gone up to such an extent that we can now actually pay everyone out in full.
Wow.
So it's actually a nice potential ending to the FTX saga. Admittedly, this
Mm.
happened it largely happened in Mount Gox as well, where the price went up so much, people were going to get paid out much more than they thought they were going to be. But
Yeah.
it took freaking 14 years to it to happen. So now it's going to be a case of, well, let's see how long the FTX liquidators get to paying people out. But at the moment, they're in a good place. And because I saw it was on the news, this investment Sam had made in this AI company, they sold it and they sold it for like 900 million. And I think the initial investment was just a couple of million he threw in at the bottom. So
Right.
the kind of the multiple on that is just insane. But it's one of those weird things. It made me just think a little bit about Sam. And as much as obviously we've seen that the inner workings, and it's just so bizarre, right? Because clearly Sam, right, he's a bit of a fucking idiot, but at the same
Yeah.
time, whether he's underpinned by and he was some Trojan horse, I don't know. But when I look at it, I go, he built a good exchange, an exchange that was
Yeah.
one of the most popular exchange in the world. I've never used it, but as far as I've heard, it worked.
Yep.
It didn't get hacked. It worked. And then
True.
he was raking in profits from that. And then he was taking some of those profits, or unfortunately also customer funds, and made some investments. And some times played out, and it looks like those investments were absolutely spot on. He was investing in AI before AI was a thing, and they've mushroomed,
True.
they've ballooned, and they've made a lot of money. And you just go, Sam, you're clearly a talented guy. You built a great
Yeah.
exchange. You seem to be actually weirdly a good VC investor as well, because a good VC investor will make 100 investments and one will unicorn. I don't know how many he made. Maybe it's 30, 40, 50. He's got a couple of unicorns popped out of that already. And you go, fair play. What was this need to gamble customer funds in the middle and just make
Yeah.
I think he was almost just it's this classic greed. That's all I can see is that
Yeah.
it's like I am making so much money off the exchange. I'm doing all this VC investing. That's going to pay off. But admittedly, he hadn't seen the payoff yet. But he's like, that's going to. Where else can I make money? And he just saw billions of money that he was managing, and he just went, I can make even more here. Because if he literally had just left it, FTX would have continued to be a number one exchange.
All day long.
He'd been an independent billionaire just off that. He was making VC investments, which were clearly good because we're seeing them pay off now to the tune of 100 to 200, 500x what you put in. He just
Yeah.
he could have been one of the richest guys on the planet, but all he had to do was be patient. But I don't think it was enough. I think it was just like a computer game for him, and it wasn't real money. And he just went, "Fuck it, I want to invest. Why just invest these hundreds of millions that I have? I want to invest this 4 billion of customer funds as well, and it's fine. I'll invest it. I'll make it worth so much more. I can put it back before anyone notices." And bizarrely, if all he'd have had is an extra year, there's an argument to say he would have put it back because it's
Yeah,
like
you're
literally
right.
at this point he's back to break even. So, but I don't think he would have been at back break even, wouldn't he? Because knowing Sam, he'd have paid back the 4 billion. He'd looked at the customer funds under management and gone, "When I have 10 billion, look what I did with four. I turned that into eight. What can I do with 10? Let's
I
YOLO
think,
again on 10." Like he's one
yeah.
of these guys, I think, that eventually it would have crumbled, and it crumbled when it crumbled. But
I
yeah,
always think there would have been an element of that for sure. There would have been a case of just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And classic human biased, unit biased as well. It's got to be 100x. It could be 99. It has to be a round number. And of course, it never gets there and the house falls down before that. But to your point, because I don't think that there was any maliciousness on his part. So I do think that he would have given it back because it wasn't like yeah, they had a very extravagant lifestyle. Where were they? Was it the Bahamas?
yeah,
They
Bahamas.
were, yeah, in the Bahamas, the penthouse. But outside of that, it wasn't really much else going on, was there?
No, like not to, he was living a lifestyle with some of a couple of million,
Yeah,
but he was
you
walking
know,
around with a couple of billion and
yeah.
nowhere living up to that type of lifestyle. Yeah.
There wasn't, floor seats at the LA Lakers or, diamond jewelry and splurging it in the strip club or anything like that. It was any of that. It
I
was
mean,
vegan food.
he was buying basketball stadiums, so that that was
Yeah.
just hitting FTX. I think there's still a basketball stadium somewhere called FTX the next 10 years because they paid for it
Yeah.
all up front.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I think it was the Miami Stadium. You're right. It
think you
it
have to call
was,
it
yeah.
FTX for like another 9 years, probably.
Yeah.
Technically, they paid for it, even though it's a defunct company now.
Yeah.
Surely they
Yeah.
could just rename it, but they're like, well, yeah, you have to give back the 200 or 300 million that they paid you for it if you want to give it back.
So this is interesting. So my Formula One hat of
No way.
Mercedes
Got
is a
FTX.
Lewis fan, FTX as well. So yeah, they were definitely pulling out all the stops when it came
That's
to
the
sponsorship.
debate, right? Because people, I remember, what was it? Brian Armstrong, the CEO of
Mm.
Coinbase, was just saying, obviously, he was leading the number one exchange in the world at the time, and going, we've got a fair amount of cash, but the amount of sponsorships and investments that FTX are doing
Yeah.
just seems completely insane.
Yeah.
And how are they doing it? Because,
Yeah.
and it turns out the way that Sam was marketing his own company, which was literally taking customer funds and giving it to Mercedes, giving it to a basketball team, and just giving it to freaking any big company in exchange for put my logo on nice and prominent inside your business. And that was just leading to more and more business. And then the more business that came in, is like, great, collect all this funds and just throw it to another company and use that as more. And unfortunately, that looks very similar to a Ponzi scheme,
Yeah.
right? Because who knows, like, even like it was bizarre why FTX went so big. Because I was always looking at going, obviously, I'm a product guy. And what is the differentiator here? Why are people going to FTX over an
Mm.
exchange? It's based in the Bahamas, outside of a lot of jurisdiction. Don't know anything about it. It seemed to come out of nowhere,
Yep.
and
Oh, it definitely did.
it largely was marketing, and the marketing came from customer funds. So if Sam hadn't have been fraudulent and used his customer funds, and potentially never would have got into a position that he was in. So it was really could you could argue it was almost like a Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme
Yeah,
where you kind of
100%.
start and then you spend the money you collected to convince more people to come in, and eventually the pyramid gets so big that you get to the billions, but then the Ponzi always collapses because you can't keep running at that pace.
Yeah.
And who knows, like
And
Sam probably knew that, which is why he was like divesting and putting investments here, there, and everywhere.
yeah.
But he just he sailed so close to the wind where because clearly like once you go into customer funds and start spending it, highly illegal. Like what the hell? That's not your money. You
No
know,
one was checking him though. That's the thing as well. You know,
he's
if you're the
well, he's set in Bahamas,
CEO,
wasn't he? He knew what he was doing. Like he's an American guy that moved to the Bahamas and set up this.
yeah,
Like, there's not a coincidence that someone does that, right? He knew
correct.
he didn't want to be audited. But clearly he probably had the intention of doing this the whole time. But if you managed to read the thread from John Wang, who is a junior guy that joined SBF and sat in the courtroom when he got sentenced, do you manage to have a look at this?
No, no.
Yeah, it was there's a great thread which I encourage people to go and click because he even includes the very first message that he DM'd Sang Bankman-Fried back in December 2020 and was like, "Oh, I'd love to come and see how you're doing." And Sam replies and goes, "Yeah, great, come in." But even talks about how apparently Sam was shaking. So his lawyer goes, "He needs Adderall. Can we give him some Adderall?" And the judge just goes, "I can't be having lawyers coming in and feeding drugs to people on trial." And people in the courtroom laugh because it's just like, come on, like Adderall's not a real fucking drug that you need as a prescription. He hasn't got fucking cancer or something like. Yeah, he's about to be
Yeah,
sentenced to like have the majority of his life put in prison. So yeah, I'm sure he is shaking, but fucking deal with it, mate. This is
yeah,
um
yeah.
but yeah, his mum is there shaking her head and yeah, it's just this guy is just he queued up from like 4 a.m. to get in.
I've forgotten her name's Tiff something. You know, like the hot Asian chick that does all the
Mm.
reviews of Sam Bankman-Fried, and she kind of had the interviews with him. She talked a lot during the trial because I was watching her channel about uh, John Wang, wasn't it? Yeah, John Wang, and how he kind of got swept up in the whole just go with it, even though he questioned SBF. Now, has anybody else been sentenced, like his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend?
No, as far as I
And
know, they all got political immunity
yes,
by testifying against him.
yeah, which is interesting because he clearly didn't do all of this by himself, which,
Oh no, yeah, yeah, no. Oh, weirdly, Caroline got sold a doc anyway. Like she literally took a CEO. She was CEO of Alameda for like less than
yeah,
6 months when
yeah,
it collapsed. There was a different guy that was the CEO for the majority of the time during the FTX. And but yeah, but one of the things that would hurt Sam was the fact that all the execs inside FTX, none of them had anything to do with Alameda other than him.
mm,
And Alameda is the entire problem, right? Alameda is where all the customer funds went to be
yeah,
traded. And he claims that he didn't know. And, oh, as a CEO, I should have been checking. But it seemingly has been proven that no one else on the exec had a direct relationship with them.
mm,
He founded that company. If anything, Sam started as the CEO of Alameda. He
yeah,
was a trading company that did arbitrage on Bitcoin prices between Europe and Asia and America, and he apparently made a load of money off that, which a lot of that's in dispute at the moment because it seems like it's just bit of a bullshit story to give him some credence. But
Yeah.
he comes from Alameda, and as an offshoot from there, he creates the exchange. And his biggest problem was, seemingly anyway, if you believe the narrative as it's being told, is that he couldn't let go of his trading arm. So even though
Mm.
the exchange took off and was really successful, his heart was in trading. So when this huge pot of cash was coming in that he was supposed to be taking custody of on behalf of customers, he couldn't help but throw that over the fence to Alameda and go trade it. And he
Yeah.
lost every penny or every sat.
It's a classic when the entrepreneur can't let go of the baby and give it to somebody else to either manage, or somebody that's in a yeah, somebody's that's in a greater position technically, experience as well. So yeah, maybe it was just a case of yeah, he just needed to stop. Almeida was doing what it was doing, and then obviously the funds got commingled, and 25 years later, you've got a boyfriend. Because that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, oh man. Who knows though?
Uh,
It's one of them like I always think time for certain people is different to time for others, right?
yeah,
There's the nice cells in prison that have internet and like we literally discussed it last week. Like if you have an internet signal and a laptop, he'll be fine. He don't give a shit. I'm reading this thread now, and his apartment it was nicer than I thought. It's worth 30 million.
yeah.
And
The
there's
one in Bahamas.
yeah. And there's
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
picture of him here with Hillary Clinton, Kendall Jenner, Katy Perry, DiCaprio, Bezos. He made $1 billion worth of sponsorships in total. And this guy,
Well,
John Wang, basically went, I hope to give him some benefit of the doubt because he worked for him. So attributing negligence over malice that faded quickly. Why? So he then lists his reasons why he lost his faith in SBF. So he had singular
mm,
control over FTX and Alameda's mixing of funds. He was the only executive with vested interests in both. Alameda had a $65 billion credit line from FTX. SBF was still spending hundreds of millions right before their collapse because he brought what's that? He bought a coin with Telegram. Oh, he bought Telegram, hundreds of millions.
okay.
SPF deliberately inflated revenues, defrauding investors by transferring money between entities. SPF went to Middle East with Saramucci to raise money after they already knew FTX was underwater.
Mm,
FTX used straw donors in its political donations. Basically said, Nishad, you are FTX's left face. Give to a
see,
lot of woke shit. SBF did the
Nishad.
code, but designed the technical and financial infrastructure. So that was one of the big lies, right? He said he coded the whole thing, and it turns out he didn't. So yes, there's a lot of activity there that seems to be look, only Sam knew in FTX and had those joint relationships. And then even when the company is about to go under, he's still buying companies for hundreds of millions with customer funds,
Yeah,
trying to raise more investment when he knows the company's about to go bust. It really does make it when you even try and be super like lenient towards him, you go and just try and put it down to greed, you go. Gee, there's so many points during this story where he could have gone, all right, enough. But he
yeah,
just kept freaking going, didn't he?
yeah. He was
So
in it. He was in it all over it. Right, well, I guess that might be the end of SBF in talking about him. And
yeah.
I don't see, there will be, they were talking about the rise of the Phoenix for FTX as as an exchange, but who in their right mind would go anywhere near putting their money into an exchange which has therefore, effectively had all of its funds locked up in there in this interim period of like what, nearly 18 months? Stay away. Don't do it. We already tell people to take the money off the exchanges that work. Forget ones that have been in scandals like this.
Mhm.
So, yeah, hopefully that is the last we see and hear of SBF. The last we need to talk about FTX. But we have
20 years
another.
anyway. We'll cover him again when he gets out.
Yeah, yeah, we will. We will indeed. But
Episode
we
like 4022.
yeah, but we will go on to another scam artist, Craig Wright.
I know it's just the theme of tonight. That's why I said, it's hopefully this is we're getting to the end of talking about these more ones. Like SBF is hopefully now been put to bed. Never talk about them again. I got Craig Wright, yeah. But so what's Craig Wright up to? Well, clearly he's lost the court case, hasn't he? And
Again.
I think I briefly mentioned it that I saw him moving funds. And so fair play, the judge has got involved and gone, oh, people have noticed you moving funds and signing things over to your wife, moving it into these shell companies. So a judge has basically ordered a freeze on all Craig Wright's assets and funds. Officially, he can now not move things because they can already see what he's about to do, which is declare
Mm.
bankruptcy. The second the judgment goes against him, he's going to go, I have no money, so I can't pay. So all the people that have spent literally millions worth of dollars to fight his bullshit cases, now they win. They should have all those costs refunded, plus a settlement in their favor. And Craig knows that, and he's fucking running away like the coward that he is. And so who knows? Maybe this judgment has come in time. Maybe Craig hasn't managed to move all his assets away from himself yet. But it's funny to see it because Craig is literally the guy going, I'm going to prove it in court. Welcome to law. You Bitcoiners who just think like you're just going to freaking do all this. Like, I don't believe in this whole justice system, really. It's all just a load of bollocks. But he's trying to play that game. These Bitcoiners have played the game back. And holy shit, he's so checkmated. I really hope he has got a significant amount of his funds still under his name and they can be seized and used to pay the people that he has made a life a misery for the last
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 years because it would be so sweet. But I have a feeling now that I don't think he's going to pay a single dollar, a single sat. But because I think he'll just run. I think
Uh,
literally if he'll just leave and like because like freaking Calvin Air, which is his little sugar daddy, he lives in a non-jurisdiction freaking weird place in the Seychelles or somewhere weirdly where he coexists with a load of underage girls. So it seems like a bit different version of Epstein Island, just Calvin Air Island. So Craig will just disappear. Obviously, he lives in the UK right now.
yeah.
He'll just disappear over there. And but who knows? What do you think? You think this will
Uh,
do
uh,
anything?
See, again, I think this time is interesting. What I was really, really impressed about is the judge seems on it. I thought anything cryptocurrency related, Bitcoin related, the judge is just going to get fall behind, will just, yeah, get left behind, would be fooled by Craig's speeches and, his articulation of the truth, the way that he created Bitcoin and so forth. But yeah, the fact that the judge has followed it and got ahead of it and been like, oh no, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes is again like very refreshing. As for him, I think this could be finally the downfall to him. I wasn't aware of this Calvin guy until I started looking into the story, and obviously this is the person that's been funding him and allowing him to go to court and think that he's the big almighty I am, and anyone that wants to bring anything against him will therefore have to feel the wrath of the the financial penalties that he will want to implement on them through the use of Calvin's money and getting the best lawyers and so forth. But I think his comeuppance is finally here.
Yeah, I really hope so. I've seen some crazy BSVers go, oh, this is like the laser eyes people trying to make Craig not sell his Satoshi coins because if he gets proven he's not Satoshi, they still think that he is Satoshi, right? So what he'd have to do to pay is sell some of his Satoshi coins.
Mm,
So our strategy is to make sure he doesn't do that, is to freeze his assets. Oh, and then another conspiracy came out, which was, oh, the Bitcoin Core developers are going to freeze the Satoshi coins because they don't want Craig selling them, which proves Bitcoin is not decentralized because they're freezing coins. None of these things we weren't scared Craig was going to sell the coins, and we're definitely not freezing Satoshi's coins because technically no one knows that these coins are Satoshi. They're just presumed because they're these very early mining rewards that went to certain miners, which when there's only two miners on the network, right? You kind of assume at least one of those is Satoshi, if not
yeah.
both. So you there's no like there's no marked addresses that say these are 100% Satoshi. It's presumed. And of course, there's no
Mm,
way in Bitcoin to pass some type of change. Well, technically there would be a way, but it would never get agreed to be
yeah.
passed into code to freeze Satoshi's coins just because, oh, we think it's Craig and he's going to go, we're agreeing with this court order, right? Which is, oh, Craig says his assets frozen. Therefore, we freeze Satoshi's coins. It's like, no, no, no. Part of this judgment was he's out of the 8 billion people on the planet, we all could be Satoshi other than Craig Wright. So why would we freeze Satoshi's
Exactly.
coins based on this judgment, right? There's only one person on the planet that we categorically know is not Satoshi. It is Craig Wright. Everybody else has a better chance to be Satoshi than him. I thought the cope from the BSV community was quite glorious. But bless them. I think they're so far down that they're just
Yeah.
severely grasping at any straw on the way down because
I mean, the
they're
whole
very, very
BS.
close to being completely irrelevant. Because once this judgment is done
Yeah.
and Craig gets his fine, other than the story afterwards of him not paying the fine,
Yeah.
he's done then. It's just
Done.
he's gone, same as SBF. We fast forward a couple of years, the new Bitcoin is coming at that point. They'll go, who's SPF? Who's Craig Wright? They'll be damned to history, and it'll be a nice little anecdote that Bitcoiners that came in before them can go, oh, I'll tell you the story of Craig Wright. I'll tell you the story of SPF because they will not be relevant at that point. They'll be gone.
What will always be interesting in the BSV guys, you're right, they are a different breed amongst themselves. Is they are adamant about the coin and how it's the original one. Yet, if you look at it, since the split, one's gone this way and one's gone that way. And it's equally a really good, I guess, a good anecdote for people to kind of look at when you're thinking about where the masses go and these network effects. So the network has chosen Bitcoin to be the right network to follow, as opposed to PSV as well. So yeah, it's interesting.
Sweet. Should we move on to the worst property deal of all time that didn't happen?
This was amazing to read, especially because, and I'm sure you will, you'll play the video, right? It's only 30 seconds or so. Yeah, 34 seconds. But in this story, it's a story which, going back to what you were saying earlier on in terms of the family member potentially wanting to sell Bitcoin, whatever they were going to sell Bitcoin for to take some profit off the table and then put it into something else or, have a good time, use the profits however you want to. This is going to be a stark reminder that whatever you did is now costing you X amount more. So the concept is, or the background to this is, there's a two-bedroom apartment in New York and that was turned down in terms of an offer after being offered for 50,000 Bitcoins. The apartment was worth 14 million. The Bitcoin at the time for 50,000 Bitcoin was 13 million. So it was under list value, but this now is a $3.5 billion mistake. Let's say that again. The 14 million that they turned down, sorry, the 13 million that they turned down because they wanted 14 is now worth 3.5 billion. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah. Oh, the video is just great, isn't it? Where the guy just calls up and goes, "Oh yeah, I've got this offer for your flat." And he's like, "Oh great, what is it?" Number one, like an apartment in New York being worth 14 million in 2015.
Yeah.
Even that is nuts, right? It's just
Yeah.
14 million for an apartment. I'm assuming it's got great views of Central Park and all that stuff, but you still go, it's an apartment. There's no way it
Yeah.
can be worth 40 million. It's just, but then ironically, even if they held on to that apartment, I'm sure that person is already super wealthy, right? They got a 14 million
Yeah.
or $40 million apartment. If they'd have held on to it, who knows what it's worth now, 50, 60, 70 million. And I'm
Yeah.
sure they're sat there going, we smashed that. Because this is by the way, a two-bed apartment as well. This isn't, don't get into the illusion that, oh no, it's got 10 beds, a swimming pool, and all that stuff in it. No, it's a two-bed apartment. It's a nice, from what I could see in the short video, it's a nice apartment, but to put that anywhere above a couple of 100,000 is just insane to me. It's just to say 1 million would be nuts. To say 14. And then he seemed offended that the offer was 13, and then offended doubly for the fact that they offered him Bitcoin. And yeah, they could have probably built or brought the every property all the way around Central Park. And instead of one apartment, they probably could have bought every building
Yeah.
now, with their 3.5 billion. Could have gone back and at the very least bought the building and probably the next 10 buildings next to it. If all they had to do is sell that one apartment for Bitcoin, hold it for admittedly 9 years, which would have been a tough hold throughout the bull and bear markets we've had. But if they had, they'd have popped out the other side with turning their $13 million into 3.5 billion. And holy shit, they could have bought half of New York.
Well, I'm just done a quick Google search to find two-bedroom apartments in New York and the value of what they are. Quickly flipped it to the most expensive. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Due to inflation, things have increased, and I can see right here on a website called streeteasy.com that you can get a new development condo for 20.5 million and another townhouse, two-bedroom, two-bathroom apartment. The other one was again two bedrooms, 16.5 million.
It's
So, go.
It's just nuts.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely crazy.
you should be stupidly rich, right? If you're buying a place for over $10 million, you should be completely have made it, be buying a mansion and have swimming pools and freaking helicopter pads. Like this is what I envisage when you mention that type of money, right? And even in 2015, we're talking about a two-bed apartment in New York. I, I don't get what we have done as a society to make people do this. It doesn't make because I know to a certain extent, like New York is the class, it's a little bit similar. You know, New York and San Francisco have a lot of similarity to Bitcoin in the fact that it is scarcity, right? They're
Yeah.
both technically islands. New York and San Francisco are they have three sides surrounded by water, and it's a very small selection of land. So it gives the scarcity to the land, but it's
Yeah.
fake scarcity because all you got to do is go inland a bit and you can build as many offices and as many houses as you want. But human beings, being the irrational things that we are, go, no, I live in a city of one of those, San Francisco or New York. I want to live right in the middle. I want to live within walking distance. And really, that's built for 10 to 50,000 people. And we go, fuck that, we're putting 20 million people in there,
Yeah.
50 million people in there. You go, well, if you do that, when there's technically room easily for 50,000 and you put 20 to 50 million people in that area, then prices are going to go absolutely insane. And you'd think at some point these people go, well, should we break the insanity and just create another New York over here, which is just 10 miles that way in the mainland, and we have fucking infinite space. You have any idea how big America is? Fucking massive. Really, really big. There is not a scarcity of land here. We have so much. We don't
Correct.
just have to build on this little peninsula. Like, well, you're fucking stupid if you go build over there. You're like, am I? Like, like I could, and for whatever reason, you know, people want to build in New York, they want to live in San Francisco. It's a place to be. I even seen some tweets from some people. They're not on Bitcoin Twitter, they're kind of on shitcoin Twitter. I don't know why Twitter occasionally recommends these a couple of people, but they're talking about how New Yorkers seem, oh yeah, I'll never leave. And then they realize how high their taxes are, how much they pay for their rent.
Yeah.
I think this person was complaining about the crime. They just had some packages stolen from their house, and well, their friend had been mugged in the street. And you go, how long do I live in a city where I'm paying 10x everything, yet
Yeah.
crime is still prevalent? But it's a weird. But they're literally going, "What do you think?" Almost hoping people convince them to stay. Like they want to stay, they don't want to leave. And I just go, why? Like, what part of you is going? Living in New York seems to just be like a prestigious badge of honor
Mm.
that, oh, I've made it. I live in New York, you know, right in the middle, right? It's like all humans want to live here, but I live here. And you go, well, I don't know who's telling you this, but I don't want to live there.
Yeah. 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 It is a strange one, and yeah, I can't resonate with it. I can't understand why someone would want to do that. There's obviously a lot of people that have, and it it doesn't have that same, to me anyway, that same appeal, that same vibe when knowing you can get, and this is why Americans are some moving out further and further afield. Of course, the population in San Francisco has massively gone down from what it used to be to what it is right now. But people have found that they can just get so much more for their money outside of it. A key state is Florida, where the taxes are low, and again, the abundance of land is high. Just found out one of my street neighbors. She's originally from Texas, Houston, Texas, to be exact as well. And it's huge. And Texas within itself is effectively a country, be in within a country. So Texas within the US, but you've got Texas Austin and Texas Houston, and there are so many places and diverse places in America to live over and above just this tiny island of New York.
It's
But yeah, Bitcoin will teach them.
exactly it. I think it's one of those things where I think, especially in the world of, you can pretty much have any job and be based anywhere you want. Like
Yeah,
I think if you do go back to the 60s and 70s, 80s, I do kind of get it, right? If you want to work for some of the biggest companies in the world, you have to go to where they are. So you have to go to like
yeah,
Paris, New York, San Francisco. And if you don't live there, then you can't be part of their mission. But, and admittedly, maybe it's going back that way again because we've had a whole couple of years where all these companies were remote. But man, there's so many companies to work for. It's just, yeah, I don't get it because
how do you
cause,
think you would have if you didn't get Bitcoin and you were offered 50,000, like in 50,000 Bitcoin? And I always when you sent the agenda in and what's one in our group, and I looked at it, it reminded me of the Lily Allen concert that she turned down. And
yeah,
yeah, and it just always makes me think, we're seeing, Lily Allen turned down the concert. These guys turned down the
yeah.
apartment. And do people not realize that those that aren't getting Bitcoin, that you are turning down the greatest opportunity
Mm.
that is out there right now?
I must admit, in 2015, I have no clue what I'd have said. My suspicion is I probably would have said no as well.
Yeah.
It depends. It depends how much that apartment was a percent of my net worth.
Mm,
If it was largely all of it, I think almost certainly I'm saying no because in 2015 I didn't get Bitcoin. So there would be no way I'd be exchanging my entire net worth for Bitcoin at that point.
yeah.
I think if I was already worth 100, 200, 300 million, which probably likelihood is this guy probably was, right? If you got a $40 million freaking
Yeah.
apartment in New York, you're probably worth
Yeah.
10x that. I'd like to think I'd entertained it more than he did because he just shut it down straight away, right? We saw the call. It's
Yeah.
just, I'd like to have thought of gone,
Yeah.
you know what? What is this thing? Maybe this is a way of me getting in. I don't even know how to buy that amount of Bitcoin. Because, because back in that day, buying $14 million worth of Bitcoin would have sent the price through the fucking roof.
Yeah.
Whereas exchanging it from one person to another doesn't move the price at all. Because all that
Mm,
happens is an apartment goes one way and Bitcoin goes the other. The price stays completely the same. Whereas if you get paid 14 million, or let's say the 13 million that was offered in cash, and then you buy the Bitcoin, you're going
yeah.
to get a lot less Bitcoin. You won't get 50,000 Bitcoin for that. You'll probably get 35,000 Bitcoin for it because the price will start rocketing up as you buy, unless you buy
Yeah.
over a very long period, because the markets would have not been very solvent and liquid back then. So I'd imagine like a $14 million buy, you could have doubled the price, which means you'd have got half the amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But I'd like to have thought I'd have entertained it and maybe I could have convinced, maybe there's a small chance I could have convinced this mystery version of myself that suddenly had lots of money back in 2015 in a random apartment in New York, and this offer came in. There's lots of if buts and maybes on this little journey. Maybe I could find a scenario where I do accept
Uh,
the offer, but
yeah.
yeah, I think it's super early in Bitcoin's journey. Like there was barely anything good written about Bitcoin back then. There's hardly any YouTube videos. There was definitely no books. So who knows? Who knows what my opinion would have been? I think that the high likelihood is I'd have been the guy on the other end of that phone going, "What a joker!
Yeah, don't
I want
waste my
cash.
time.
I want cash. And I
Yeah.
would be sat here now cringing at 2015 me going, what a fucking idiot. I wish I'd have
Yeah.
done my homework better because yeah, um,
I mean, we say it all the time, but I then go on to think, we're talking about Bitcoin now and the Bitcoin price now, but in 9, 10 years' time, in the equivalent of what we've seen in this video, it's going to be astronomical to a point where, I don't feel like we can fathom it. We're not going to just be looking at the 100K mark. We've well surpassed that. We're going into the billions, the multi millions, sorry, not billions, the multi millions of where Bitcoin will be by that point.
sweet. Should we move on to a nice controversial character in Andrew Tate?
I've got a lot of time for this. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mr. Andrew Tate, he claims to be a Bitcoiner. I might
Mm.
share the screen just so people can see Mr. Tate's little tweet. And can you see that? Yeah.
Can you see that? Yeah, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, so we got Andrew Tate here saying, I bought my first Bitcoin in 2018. Since then, I've been buying Bitcoin every single week without fail. I've never, ever, not once sold any. Do you understand?
It's an
So
interesting one, this.
I like this tweet here, like just going, nope, looks like bullshit from this angle too. So I think some of the Bitcoin guys are not are not believing him. Um, what do you think? I have a
I
tendency to actually believe him, but I don't know. Am I just being too generous in thinking that maybe he did buy Bitcoin and because he's clearly very rich, like very, very rich. He seems to have supercars coming out of his fucking ears.
Yeah,
I only
yeah,
watched a couple of his videos, but he genuinely seems to have a lot of money. And so it doesn't even necessarily mean like he can be technically lying and telling the truth at the same time here, right? Where maybe he did buy his first Bitcoin in 2018, but maybe it was like $500, which for him
correct,
is $10, right? And oh, he didn't sell it. Well, yeah, because why would you sell
correct.
a couple of grand's worth of Bitcoin? Maybe it turned into 20 or 30 grand. He still doesn't care, right? He's buying
Yeah,
supercars every week and then just leaving them in car parks. So clearly that amount of Bitcoin wouldn't have mattered. But then he does then say he's been buying every single week. I think I definitely call bullshit on that because I think when you buy your first Bitcoin, there's always a period of that was a test and I'm gonna wait.
yeah.
Everyone does that, right? You don't suddenly start DCAing. I don't think. There's definitely a period of time where you buy your first Bitcoin, you test it and you go, oh, have I fucked up? And then you slowly but surely educate yourself. You got skin in the game now, and then you
100%
either
have
go all
fucked up.
in or you start DCAing. But I don't actually doubt that he's never sold it. I think potentially that is potentially very true. But it could only be because it's not a significant amount of his net worth. Bitcoin might be 1 or 2%, even though it's appreciated a lot. It could be a tiny amount of his net worth. So therefore, well, yeah, you didn't sell it because it's not meaningful to you, not
Yeah.
because you were all in and you believe it's going to continue growing. So yeah, I know. What do
You
you
stole
think?
my argument, basically.
Oh, sorry.
I was thinking exactly the same. I think it's a very small amount. I've watched a lot of Andrew Tate in terms of his videos, in terms of his philosophies, in terms of, being anti-state, people being self-sufficient, um, ultimately, thinking for themselves outside of the matrix, which is something that he talks about a lot. How can you get outside of the matrix and, don't feed into the matrix? Yeah, I do think he's bought Bitcoin, but he can't profess to be. a Bitcoin maxi because he doesn't really believe in it per se. Like, we're here in the conviction with this, but I know from again the interviews that I've watched, he was a cash guy. He would have been in gold. He definitely will understand Bitcoin and the purpose of what Bitcoin can have. But I don't think he's truly and fully on board.
No, apparently he did some crypto scams during the last bull cycle as well. So
Uh, that doesn't surprise me.
no,
And also the fact that we won't mention, well, we won't go into too much depth, but Layla Halpern, who we've spoken about before, and I think we had her on, well, not on the show, but we were talking about her. It may have been offline, just us chatting about her. But she was scamming people. Yeah, I'm just quickly looking through the through the pods. Yeah, we were talking about her offline. Effectively, she was scamming people saying, "Oh, you should be buying this," and it was obviously no good. And effectively a shitcoiner. I can see him being in that same boat, very similar to the selling of the courses that Tate does. He would pump and dump a coin for his own personal gain.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I think it's one of them where Bitcoin hits all-time highs, and then people like Andrew Tate come out and go, "Oh yeah, I always believed in it. I've been a
yeah,
Bitcoiner for the last 6 years."
yeah.
And you just go, like
Mm,
because clearly I've listened to a bit of Andrew Tate. He definitely gets how corrupt the government are, and I agree
yep.
with him on a hell of a
Oh,
lot of his points on all that.
yeah.
He then wanders off into weird areas sometimes, but even then, I've watched some of his the way he talks about women, and then I've actually watched it with my wife. I purposely do it just because he actually has some interesting views, and I want to hear from a woman's perspective here when they hear that, like what their reaction is, and it's surprisingly um, accurate and gets
Mm,
much more positive response from women than I would have expected.
mm,
So he clearly gets it, but he's one of those guys that does he know what the solution is? Is he just going to keep shouting about the problem, which is governments are corrupt, not here to help us, they're here to
yeah,
imprison us. They're trying to put us into some form of matrix via the media, the war machine, and etc. etc. But does he get the solution, which is all their power comes from the money? And if we switch our faith from their money to our own money, i.e. Bitcoin, then all that stops and we can completely move
mm,
to a different version. And I think over the last couple of years, I think he has got it. And now being a classic kind of big ego, big alpha male type guy going, oh fuck, it's taken me a while to get this, and a lot of people got it before me. So what I'm going to do is pretend I had it ages ago. I've been a Bitcoiner before it was cool, bro. Yeah, I'm surprised he's even saying 2018. I thought it'd be like 2012. Da, da, da.
yeah, yeah.
Like, bro, if you were in it 2012, you would be buying America right now. Like it's just, but yeah. So I
I
think there's a
think
bit of
as well
bullshit.
that
I think there's also quite a lot of truth in what he's saying as well, which I think I think that fundamentally, I think it's quite a good sign, which is someone that is anti-government and has seen the problem has actually found the solution. Because so often, people that find the problem, they don't find the right solution. It's not being angry. It's not dyeing your hair blue and being a lesbian. It's not buying gold.
sorry, Dr. Evil 10%. These were all your ideas. Dyeing your hair blue,
He
being a
wants to grow his hair
lesbian.
back just so he can dye it
Yeah,
blue, be a
yeah,
lesbian.
buying gold. I know he wants to buy gold somewhere.
Yeah, I'm
He's got
pretty
it
sure
in him.
he probably owns a bit of gold. I got some
Yeah,
gold.
yeah,
But no, the answer is to buy Bitcoin. That's
yeah.
the ultimate protest. The ultimate fuck you to your government is to exchange their fiat trash cash for Bitcoin. And I think Tate has realized that, and now he's going, oh, I'm going to pretend I was here all the time. But look, he's got a huge voice, a huge influence. So if he's now a Bitcoiner, we'll see whether he really is. Like, who knows, right? If it next
Uh,
week show some NFT or some fucking shitcoin, and this will be for nothing. But you know,
I think the fact that with the whole police and being obviously like arrested and a lot of his goods confiscated, wanting to push that message more, there could be a lot of anger towards the government and again the Matrix, knowing that there's something out there that can fight the Matrix, and if other people stood up, because he has always said, look, if they can do it to me and the way that they deplatformed me in terms of, it was like a targeted attack, he said.
hmm,
It wasn't just they shut him down from Twitter and that was it. It all happened within an hour of each other. And I remember him talking and he said, I even got even my Uber account was shut. And you think, what? That's how he goes back to saying that's how far the Matrix's tentacles stretch.
yeah,
All within an hour, all of these things. So, you
yeah.
couldn't even order a cab. So if you have found or you know of, because I don't believe he did find it back in 2018 per se, he might have bought it, but not really found it, discovered it, lived it, breathed it, studied it. Then now we're at the stage where it's just like, oh, this could protect me from the situation that I'm in because when the police raided his house and took all of the watches, took the cash that was around, they couldn't have taken what's inside your head in terms of the 12 words. And that's why you may be pushing the message more.
Yeah, it could well be. Yeah, he's currently locked. I don't know how he's tweeting. I'm assuming it's his team.
Yeah, oh, the team are amazing because all throughout previously being locked up, they were tweeting stuff that exactly what you would expect him to say,
Mm.
super topical and on point. And I don't know if he's created some sort of AI that is just,
Andrew Tate.
looking at top. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There
That
probably is
is,
an Andrew Tate AI.
yeah, yeah. Give me stuff that Andrew Tate would say on today's topical points of view and what's going on in the world.
It reminds
Yeah,
me of
easy.
a little just talking about the Matrix and like how it comes after you in a much smaller um remit, what they've come after me for, which is closing down my Coinbase account and stuff. Still
Yeah.
closed about 2 years later. It's still under manual review, right? And
Hmm.
there's someone complaining about it on Twitter, going, "Oh, Coinbase has just shut my account. I'm under review. I don't know why." And I just replied, going, "Yeah, I've been under manual review 2 years and heard nothing. It's basically code for the powers that be have decided that they want you out."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I get an automated response from Coinbase support going, "Oh, sorry that you've had problems with Coinbase. Please, can you DM us your email address?" And
Interesting.
so I just reply going, "Go fuck yourself." You know. So that kind of reply goes a little bit viral, and and I'm just like,
Of course you did. Of course you did.
why would I entertain it? Like literally, go
Yeah.
fuck yourself. Like. I know what you're doing. I know you're going to give me bullshit. I know you're going to say it's some type of compliance, regulatory, but I, I have done nothing wrong, right? And I have filled in every form Coinbase could possibly have given me. I've filled in every survey, and they still go, you're under review for 2 years.
Mm,
And obviously, I've moved on. I've moved on. I have different exchanges that I have very good
yeah.
relationships with now. But for them to turn up in my reply, is this their Coinbase support bot? I've seen that reply a million times under different people's threads when they've been complaining about Coinbase. Just see it as just an insult, and you just go,
Was it a case of someone in the chat between you on Twitter was basically you put at Coinbase and therefore they picked up on it?
I don't know. I didn't mention at Coinbase, but maybe they did higher up.
Yeah, yeah.
But and what was interesting as well, also on that tweet, is I got about 2 dozen responses from other bot accounts going, "Oh yeah, I lost money on Coinbase as well and couldn't get it off, but I contacted
Mm,
at like Brian the scammer and he got my money off. You should speak to him."
yeah, of
I'm just
course he
like,
should. Of
my
course he
replies
should.
were literally complete garbage, It's like, and they were all saying, bizarrely, all 2 dozen replies were all telling me about the same person. Like I don't know who this fucking Brian or I think it might be Derek. I don't know what this guy was. I'm like, in what world are Coinbase locked me out of my
Yeah,
account? Do I contact Derek to get my money
yeah,
back? Just
yeah.
I'm sure someone falls for it, which is why they're doing it. But they replied 2 dozen times to my one reply. So I'm like, I only need this message once, right? But no, like let's send it 24 times. And I couldn't believe Coinbase were in there though. It's just completely tone deaf, just oh my God. Like, just
It's
send us a
crazy.
DM and everything will be fixed. It's like, dude, you've got every form of identity, everything about my finances, and you've still locked my account. Like literally,
Yeah, yeah.
go fuck yourself. I've moved on. I'm done with your company. And you're clearly done with me as well. Like it's clearly there's no love lost here. You're clearly
Yeah.
glad to see the back of me as well, but and you'll never tell me why, because essentially all that's happened is you've noticed I'm quite a big Bitcoiner and you don't like it. You don't want
Yeah,
big Bitcoiners on your platform.
yeah.
And I also send and receive from cold storage, which I don't think they like.
Mm.
They like the money to stay on the exchange.
On the
When it
exchange.
when you buy
Yeah.
it and it disappears and then it comes back years later and you sell quite a lot and you buy houses and stuff with it, I think that just raises a lot of fraud flags. And they just go, instead of understanding this, we're just going to cancel your account. And you go, fine, fuck you then. Anyway, should we move on to the last story of the week?
Yeah, the last story of the week was again a nice little troll funny story is the halving explained. Now, was this the same guy that we had the other day?
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? So it's kind of like again an interesting recurring theme of a guy, to as the as the news used to have the feel good story, because this guy will make you feel good at the end of the day. You make you feel smart. Uh, so he's trying to explain the Bitcoin halving in a way which is just ridiculous. So his version of events, and I'm sure you'll play the clip.
The Bitcoin halving is going to be crazy. I don't know why more people aren't talking about the fact that they're going to remove half the Bitcoins from the planet. If there's 21 million Bitcoins right now and they remove 10.5 million of those Bitcoins, then there's going to be 10.5 million Bitcoins left. And if there are 10.5 million Bitcoins left, then the price of each Bitcoin surely will go up because everyone knows demand and supply. If the supply goes down but the demand stays the same, then really what that means is the demand is going up because there's less supply. So the demand is forced to go up, aka price goes up. If the demand goes up, price goes up. Simple economics, right? I studied economics in school, but I'm sure a lot of you guys will understand that concept.
Is from the 21 million coins are available or that are out there to be mined, Bitcoin halving is essentially now there's only 10 and a half Bitcoins. That's it. That's the halving. So when it comes to the halving, all of a sudden now there's only 10 and a half. And that's what's going to make the supply and demand increase. So the supply has halved, the demand will increase. Gosh, it was a painful watch just over a minute to just listen to this guy try to talk about Bitcoin. But as he drives his Lambo, people will start to pay attention and no doubt be buying his courses, paying him some money for consultancy and falling for the scam.
Yeah, because this guy is the guy that was telling people in Bitcoin to pay him $5,000
That's the one.
for a course. And his course was buy and hold Bitcoin, which maybe we're missing a trick, right? We've been doing this for nearly 3 years, telling people to buy and hold Bitcoin. And we could,
Yeah.
Jesus, we could be making $5,000 of you in exchange for that, then we're the idiots, right?
Yeah.
But this guy's been doing that, driving around his Lambo. I really hope this is a troll. That's all I can hope. Because I even have like one of my dad understands the halving, right? And that's not even because I've explained it. He's got this from mainstream media, and he understands that it's the speed of which Bitcoin comes out via the block reward that is being halved. So the supply shock is not the fact the entire supply gets halved, which is what this moron thinks. It's just the fact that Bitcoin comes out at a rate, and yeah, he can't seriously think that 21 million Bitcoin is going down to 10 and a half. Because
The
obviously at the moment there's
challenge.
already 19 million out there. So what happens if you just suddenly have the supply? Like, have I got less Bitcoin now? Do I get more Bitcoin? Like what what it has to be a troll, right? Are we just feeding the troll and he's the genius here? Because if he really is this stupid, then I even know what to say.
He is this stupid, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are following him and believing him, so much so that he's got over 100,000 followers, 111,000 followers, only following just under 600. And yeah, I just think that he has the biggest game that's out there that people are buying into, showing off watches that are probably no doubt fake watches to pretend that
And it's
he's
probably
the
rented
man.
Lambo.
Yeah, rented exactly that. Rented the Lambo. What else? Yeah, I'm just quickly looking through now. Yeah, rented the villa that is in a jacuzzi. He trains not very hard because I've just seen some of the weights that he was lifting. And all of this will just be some bravado. It's all part of the scheme.
Yeah. If for anyone listening that actually wants to know what the halving is, it's basically the block reward, which every 10 minutes it comes out of the Bitcoin network. It's going to drop from 6.25 Bitcoin to 3.125. So the only reason that's interesting and why it is a bit of a supply shock is that the people that mine Bitcoin that spend literally millions on hardware and electricity, when they manage to mine a block and they get that 6 Bitcoin, which is an insane amount when you really think about it, right? Like every 10 minutes, 6 Bitcoin is coming out the
Yeah.
network and someone's getting it. That's a hell of a lot of money that is coming out the network every 10 minutes. Essentially, what tends to happen to that Bitcoin is a large proportion of it has the potential to be sold to pay for employees,
Yep.
energy.
Yep.
to
The
pay for the cost
bills.
of business of a mining function. So when the halving occurs and we go from 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes to 3.125, essentially what it means is suddenly that sell pressure from the miners that need to sell Bitcoin to fund their business has to halve.
Mm.
Or
Mm.
at the very least, they're getting half the reward. So they have less Bitcoin to sell. Yet if demand is still the same, if not higher, then supply has gone down, demand has gone up, therefore price go up, number go up. But
How long until the halving? So it's not long left. The 22nd of April, roughly.
on my screen it says April 19th. So essentially no one knows,
Yes.
right?
No one knows. No one knows. You're
It's
right.
the as accuracy as you can be is I think it's block 840,000.
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading somewhere else now, 19th of April 2024, and yeah,
Yeah, so
17
it's block
days.
630,000.
Right.
It's every 210,000 blocks. So yes, it is
Yes.
block 840.
Yeah.
So when anyone asks when's the halving happen, you can confidently say one with 100% guarantee on block 840,000. If they ask when that is, you go, well,
Oh, well. Every
many factors.
210. Yeah.
Because yeah, on average, obviously a block goes every 10 minutes, but it can be a lot less, it can be a lot more, or depends on the difficulty adjustment as to when it
Yeah.
happened. So it happened in May 2020.
That's right. And I think
So
that's where originally it was touted for May 2024, because obviously that would be in line with 4 years on, but it's not the case.
no,
Yeah, dead
weirdly,
on.
according to this, the first halving was in November 2012.
Hmm.
That was when the first halving happened. Then the second halving was in July 2016.
Oh,
Then we're in May 2020. And now potentially we're going to be in April 2024.
right.
I think it's because the network is getting more and more robust. So the the frequency of the blocks that are coming out should be more and more consistent. So essentially,
Hmm.
what's gone from there, like July, May, April, it's just fine tuning itself, and eventually, like the 4 year cycles and how often a block comes out should be extremely predictable, and it should follow that 4 year cycle exactly. But in the early years, like I know there's some blocks that didn't get sold for days, and then suddenly 12 blocks would get done in a 10-minute period. It was all over the place in the early years of Bitcoin, whereas now it's getting more and more consistent
Yeah.
to be every 10 minutes, which is why potentially like we're very, very close to being exactly 4 years on from May 2020. It's probably going to be mid-April to the end of April. So close to May 2024, almost exactly 4 years where the
But of
next
course, we know that we won't and we shouldn't expect price to just go up and number to go up immediately from this, because in the past it's taken a couple of months for it to go up. So yeah, give it time, but it's going to happen.
it takes a little bit of time, yeah, because following the halving, all this really means is the miners are getting half the amount of Bitcoin to sell.
Yep.
So clearly that you can't have anyone more all in on Bitcoin other than Bitcoin miners, right? They clearly believe they do not want to sell Bitcoin. They're selling
Hmm.
it because they live on a Bitcoin standard and they have bigger bills to pay for people and electricity and for replacing their miners. But undoubtedly, when the halving happens, they have the ability where they have to find efficiency.
Yeah.
there's usually what this prompts is a new evolution of miners. Just it's almost like the classic, like the market dynamics of any industry where you have to keep innovating. And if you stay
Yeah.
stagnant for a period of time, you will go bust. And that definitely happens in Bitcoin. Uh, the halving being baked in. If you're profitable now, congratulations. But in 4 years' time, when the block reward gets halved, are you still profitable now? If you are, congratulations. In another 4 years, gets halved again, you still profitable? Because it's going to be an ever-going challenge. And so I think the miners get more and more efficient, cost less electricity. And obviously people are innovating around electricity, right? Where
Yeah.
let's get the electricity for free. Let's go out to these waterfalls, to these hydro farms, to these wind farms in the middle of nowhere where the electricity can't get back to big cities. And we buy it for next to nothing and fund big mining farms and stuff like that. So it's why like Bitcoin is essentially is going green without meaning to go green, because the halving prompts that. It's like if you live in a
Yeah.
city and you're paying top dollar for your electricity, you can't afford to mine Bitcoin. You have to move out. You have to find a more innovative way of getting energy. And it ends up being green energy in the, in quotation marks, green, because it usually isn't green. It usually means buying a load of solar panels or disrupting the flow of a river or shoving a really big, ugly wind farm up somewhere. But if you do, and you power your Bitcoin miners from it, then you have a huge advantage over everyone else that may be paying for it. And Satoshi set out all the game mechanics right at the beginning when he set this up, and we're just here to watch it all play out, and it's kind of
It,
glorious, right? It's just
it is, and that's what I always love about Bitcoin is the fact that not a lot has changed, but the answers have all been answered already, and the fact that somebody went through systematically thinking, okay, what about this scenario? What about this? And how do we solve this? And I think, we were talking about it in a couple of pods previously, whereby at times he didn't even have time to answer these things. He was just like, well, if you don't get it by now, you don't get it, but it's launching and it's going to be out there. So eventually someone will tell you.
I know. It is amazing.
But it won't be this clown that will be telling you. Let's just make sure you know that.
And it's nearly whenever someone wants $5,000 in exchange for information, you can almost guarantee that information is wrong.
Yeah.
And a quick Google of what the halving is would have corrected that, which makes me think it has to be a troll. I really hope
Yeah.
if he genuinely thinks the total supply of Bitcoin is halving, then yeah, I don't even. But because it just means he hasn't even Googled the thing, and he's making a
just
like a highly
hoping. Yeah.
productionized video. Like there's multiple people involved in this thing, right? He's had to send multiple emails and texts out to, I want you to film me. I want to hire this Lambo. I'm going to go out. I'm going to talk about this. And
Well,
all of it's
no
wrong.
one
Like, every single
checks.
bit of it is wrong. Like there's nothing that he says is true.
Well, no one checks the things and the information that they are being told. So, in that way, he's ideally hoping for the facts to be the facts, and those facts are whatever he says that comes out of his mouth.
Oh my God, you know what? It's just occurred to me. You know why the scammers, when they say like I'm the Prince of Nigeria and I've inherited 100 million and you can have 10 of it, you just have to do this, this, and this. Because
Mm,
they purposefully put spelling mistakes in that email.
yeah.
Because what it does is root out all the people that can think, delete the email and go, there's so many typos in this, it's nonsense. But the people that don't notice the typos
Mm,
and reply, they're the lowest common denominator. And
yeah.
it almost is a self-selecting.
Oh,
So maybe this is what this video is doing. But if you're stupid enough
Oh, yeah.
to believe the halving halves the Bitcoin supply, the kind of DMs and inboxes I'm going to get are from the perfect type of people that are so stupid, I can con them into anything. It's
Yeah.
because obviously 99.9% of people go, "You're an idiot."
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I don't even want to talk to you. You're a waste of time. I can't scam you out of $5,000 for a weekend. But there is that little 0.5% of people that are. So if I put out a video this stupid, every DM I get on as a reply to this video, they're the mark. They're so
Yeah.
dumb. It's like the scamming Nigerian prince scam with the spelling mistakes in it. Only the dumbest of the dumb reply to that.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are like, yes, we've been looking for you. Welcome. Because the majority of people are clearly going to know this is bollocks. We're looking for the idiots. Welcome to Idiot Club.
I've never thought about it like that, but you are spot on.
Yeah,
Absolutely spot on.
it's an idiot filter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All encompassing.
So,
Right. Well, that's been another pod brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. She was here, but she's never here. Mrs. No Show, aka Mrs. No Show, and Dr. Evil 10%, our Fiat holiday lover, aka the People's Champ. Peace.
good man.